one of the evidences for Jesus' resurrection is the fact that you and I, Stephen, are still talking about it almost 2,000 years later.
My friend said this to me. I was telling you before about my Christian friend. He was like, why are we still talking about it? Well, we can't prove it.
Right.
It didn't happen. So we're always going to talk about it. There's never going to be, unless something happens.
Right. The difference is that there are these other messianic movements that happen in the ancient world. Mm-hmm. And so Simon Bar Giora. The reason why we're not talking about Simon Bar Giora as a messianic figure is because he died and his movement died with him. And his disciples didn't go out and then proclaim his continued message until, to their own detriment. So I would say a few things. I would say liars make poor martyrs, in that you will die for something you believe is true, but the chances of you dying for something you know is not true are less likely. So if we're talking about the disciples, and especially if what they're getting for this particular proclamation is they're being ostracized from their own communities, pagan Gentile communities, and the Jewish communities, because remember, there was persecution on both sides, because it was at a certain point in time continuing to say that Jesus was the Messiah, and on top of that he was God himself, was not very popular within the early Jesus communities. There's a complexity to the fact that people usually lie. You look at cultic figures, right? Cult leaders usually do things for prominence or money or sex or influence. The interesting thing about the early disciples is they get none of that. In fact, they almost get the complete opposite of that, in that Jesus says, you're going to be persecuted. You're going to be put in front of tribunals, and you're going to be interrogated. And that's exactly what happens. And they know that there's a danger to this, because we have in the book of Acts, which is the book after the Gospels, we have a recounting of the first martyr, of Stephen. In terms of the disciples, though, I think if they know this isn't true, if they know that there's this has been mythological drift, if things have been exaggerated, why then, especially experiencing that persecution, seeing their friends die in that kind of setting, do they continue to go on and do it?
I think they definitely believed it was true.
Yes. I think at minimum, whatever's going on, they, you look at some of these secular historians, and they look at the data and they say, whatever's going on, the disciples believe something happened.
Yeah, I agree.
That they saw something.
Of course.
And so I just think that the explanations of the alternatives of that actually happening are insufficient insofar as how they actually explain the data.